Welcome to Echoed Stories, where whispered truths, hidden betrayals, and second chances come to life. If you enjoy powerful narratives of revenge, redemption, and the human spirit, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and dive into today's tale. Your next obsession starts now. My coworker framed me for embezzlement. I went to prison. Now I own his company. When I was 17, I got told I'd never be anything more than a grease monkey. At 27, I landed my first $100 million investment round. At 30, I got framed for embezzlement, convicted, and sent to prison. And at 33, let's just say I made sure the man who betrayed me lost everything, including his name on the front door. Part 1. The Ghost at the Prom and the Gearhead Nobody Noticed. My name's Marcus Silva. I wasn't popular in high school, and honestly, I didn't care. I spent my summers working in the maintenance department at Stanford with my dad, while the kids I went to school with were throwing parties, dating, and treating me like I didn't exist. I didn't have a crew, just a couple of guys I thought were friends, until the lies, the petty betrayals, and the "yo bro, can I borrow 20?" moments started stacking up. One guy asked for cash for a jacket and ghosted me the second he had it. Another told me to get out of his face like I was some kind of charity case. And don't even get me started on prom. 3 girls, 3 rejections. Ah, you're sweet, but let's just be friends. Translation: you're invisible, Marcus. What kept me going? Cars. While everyone else was chasing clout, I was elbow deep in a 350 small block. I spent my junior and senior year at a vocational school, studying auto mechanics, something I caught heat for, especially from a certain blonde in my career class. "Why would you want to be a mechanic?" she sneered. Then, out of nowhere, one of my only real friends clapped back. "Why not be a mechanic? You scared to get your nails dirty? Or something?" Silence. Part 2. From wrenches to Wall Street. After high school, I didn't rush into the university scene. I went the long route, community college with a plan. You see, my dad worked at Stanford. What most people didn't know was that if I got the grades and the SAT scores, tuition was covered. Room, board, the works free. So I busted my ass, transferred in, and made it to Stanford on my own terms. And to keep the grind alive, I picked up a job at Coupa Cafe. Now, Coupa wasn't your average student cafe. This place was Silicon Valley's secret water cooler. VCs, startup brothers, tech billionaires with egos the size of Mars. And I was just a quiet kid behind the counter pouring lattes and listening to everything. That cafe job, it was the most important classroom I ever sat in. One startup founder liked how I remembered his order. Another VC liked that I asked him a smart question about his fintech firm. Next thing I knew, I had my pick of internships. By graduation, I had a job offer at Slate Bridge Capital, a boutique VC firm with a $400 million portfolio and a reputation for making winners. I didn't just take the job. I took the industry by storm. Part 2. $2.4 million went missing, and so did my freedom. Let's rewind to year 4 at Slate Bridge Capital. I just greenlit a $15 million follow-up investment into a portfolio company called Quantivia. It was a solid move, clean deal, or so I thought. A week later, a compliance officer flagged a problem with a wire transfer. $2.4 million of the total amount had gone through an LLC I'd supposedly created, Silva Growth Holdings, LLC. Except I hadn't. I'd never even heard of it. But somehow, it was registered under my name, matched to my SSN, with digital signatures that looked exactly like mine. At first, I thought it was some sort of banking glitch. But then came the paper trail. Devin Rourke, senior partner, fading relevance, professional backstabber, just happened to discover some damning internal documents. A draft email from me approving a special bonus to the startup's founder. An invoice from my assistant, who'd already left for law school, detailing consulting services under my name. Slack messages suggesting I was moving quiet on a risky internal transfer. The entire thing was fabricated or edited just enough to pass for real. The firm locked down my system access, froze all my accounts, and called an emergency board meeting. I was suspended pending investigation. By the next morning, I was arrested. The trial. I should have had my pick of top-shelf attorneys. After all, I helped bring in millions, had a strong portfolio, and a modest nest egg. But the second the charges hit, everything changed. My assets were frozen, personal accounts, investment returns, even my home equity line. The feds filed a temporary restraining order, claiming the funds might be connected to the crime. Slate Bridge issued a statement that basically threw me to the wolves. Slate Bridge has zero tolerance for internal misconduct. We are fully cooperating with investigators. Translation: he's not our problem anymore. I tried calling a few high-powered lawyers. Most didn't return the call. One wanted a $250,000 retainer, non-refundable. Another politely declined because of potential conflicts with other VC clients. I didn't have 6 figures in liquid cash. My family couldn't pull it together fast enough. So yeah, I stood in court in a $1,000 suit, next to a public defender who looked like she hadn't slept since law school. The prosecution painted me as an arrogant golden boy. Devin testified like he was reluctantly delivering a eulogy. He had potential, but I saw red flags. I tried to help him. I really did. Lies. All of it. But the jury didn't know me. They knew headlines. They saw a young VC accused of stealing millions and living fast. Verdict? Guilty. Sentence? 6 years. Parole? Maybe if I kept my head down. Behind bars, but not alone. But here's the thing I didn't break. Because I wasn't alone. Enter Lena, a former analyst from the firm. She quietly quit just before this mess. Smart, quiet, observant. She never bought the official story. Then there was my brother, Leo Silva, ex-Air Force cyber intel. Ran a home setup like something out of spy movie. Linux rigs, private servers. Paranoid, but brilliant. They started digging. The unraveling begins. The shell company. Silva Growth Holdings, LLC, registered in Delaware using a burner phone tied to a VPN login from a WeWork office. Guess who rented a WeWork cubicle every Friday? Devin Rourke. The metadata slip. Leo pulled metadata from the PDF invoice supposedly sent by my former assistant. Embedded creator field. Deed Rourke at slatebridge.cap. The smoking gun. Lena had access to archived security cam footage from a night Devin claimed to be working late. That night, he entered the CFO's office and plugged in a flash drive. 30 minutes later, the fake wire was processed. Game on. Part 3. The prison interview that went viral, and the lawsuit that burned Slatebridge to the ground. They said I was guilty. They said I stole millions. They sent me away for 6 years. But after 45 months in prison, I came out a different man. Not broken, not bitter, just more dangerous. Because I walked out with a plan, allies, and evidence. And I had a name to burn, Devin Rourke. Inside, when the bar slammed shut that first night, I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about survival. San Quentin wasn't Club Federal. It was rough. Concrete floors, iron silence, and the occasional burst of chaos that reminded you exactly where you were. Most of the guys in there weren't white collar. They didn't care about venture capital, fintech, or who was trending on TechCrunch. They cared about respect and whether or not you were real. I kept to myself the first few weeks. Watched. Listened. But then something weird happened. A guy named Rico, ex-auto tech from East LA, found out I used to work on cars in high school. You're a gearhead? He asked. Man, I used to run a full garage till the feds hit me for chop shop charges. We started talking engines. Then business. Then how to run a legit shop when he got out. Then came Deshaun, who used to run a streetwear brand before getting caught in a fraud scheme he didn't even mastermind. He had vision, but no business sense. So I helped him write a real business plan. Then taught him how to apply for a microloan through a prison outreach nonprofit. By my 3rd year inside, I had a crew, and not the kind that watched your back in the yard. The kind that built spreadsheets in the library. That pitched business ideas in the rec room. That believed they could have a future outside. They called it Silva School. Some even joked that I was the real Shark Tank of Cell Block D. And that kept me sane, even as my name was still being dragged in the press. Even as Slatebridge pretended I never existed. The interview. Around month 40, I got a message through the prison kiosk. An old Stanford classmate, now a documentary filmmaker, wanted to interview me for a project on wrongful convictions and corporate scapegoats. I wasn't sure, but then Lena got word to me. You need to go on the record, not for sympathy, for truth. So I did. We filmed it inside a dusty visitation room. 2 chairs, 1 mic, 1 cheap camera. But I laid it out, all of it. The fake shell company, the forged Slack messages, the metadata trail pointing to Devin, and how the same firm that claimed to be a family had fed me to the wolves without blinking. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just told a story. The fallout. The interview dropped on YouTube. At first, a few thousand views, then tens of thousands, then 500,000. People listened. They read Lena and Leo's supporting documents on Reddit. Journalists picked it up. A legal podcast did a 4-part breakdown of my case. Then came the headlines. Wrongfully convicted VC claims internal sabotage at $400 million fund. Metadata leak may prove fabrication in high-profile embezzlement case. Ex-analyst blows whistle on senior partners' shady dealings. Within 6 weeks, the California Attorney General's office had launched a formal inquiry. The SEC reopened an old file on Slatebridge from 2018, and a federal judge ordered my conviction reevaluated based on new forensic evidence. Release. On day 1,377 of my sentence, 45 months behind bars, I walked out of San Quentin. Not because I served my time, but because I proved my innocence. Charges vacated. Conviction overturned. No apology. No statement. Just silence from the same firm that sold me out. But I didn't walk away empty-handed. Leo and Lena had built something behind the scenes, something powerful. A civil case, a breach of duty lawsuit, and a plan that would flip the whole Slate Bridge board upside down. Part 4. The lawsuit that shattered Slate Bridge, and the day I walked back through their front door. They took my reputation. They took my freedom. They erased my name from the partnership board like I'd never existed. But now, I had evidence, a legal team, and a vendetta. It was time to make them remember. The lawsuit. After walking out of San Quentin, after 45 months of my life stolen, Leo handed me a stack of paperwork. Lena, the whistleblower who risked everything, had filed supporting affidavits. Together, we went scorched earth. The lawsuit accused Slate Bridge Capital of breach of fiduciary duty, negligence, and wrongful termination. Devin Rourke of fraud, malicious prosecution, conspiracy, and defamation. And most importantly, it tied Slate Bridge to a years-long cover-up of Devin's earlier misconduct, making them liable for every part of what happened to me. We filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, far from Silicon Valley influence, close enough for the LA Times business desk to pick up the story. And we made sure it leaked. The press storm. The headlines were immediate. Wrongfully convicted VC sues former firm for $175 million. Whistleblower drops metadata bombshell. Partner implicated in cover-up. Slate Bridge scandal grows. For LP's exit. SEC launches audit. Limited partners, wealthy institutions, and endowments started pulling out. From the first week, 3 more in the second. Slate Bridge was hemorrhaging money and reputation. Devin stopped showing up. The board circled the wagons. Settlement or war? Slate Bridge lawyers reached out. We're prepared to offer a confidential settlement. No admission of guilt. Mutual resolution. My attorney looked at me. I didn't flinch. We go to war. The leverage play. Then came the final card. Leo discovered a side fund Devin had created, technically off books, definitely illegal. It had been used to hide losses and cover his earlier shell transfers. We subpoenaed banking records and uncovered 3 clear SEC violations, plus at least 1 instance of double-committed capital. That was the death blow. No firm survives both a criminal investigation and 7 fleeing LPs. The buyout. 3 months later, they folded. To avoid total collapse, Slate Bridge's board agreed to remove Devin Rourke permanently and publicly. Settle with me for $185 million in damages for lost earnings, reputational destruction, emotional suffering, and wrongful imprisonment. Grant me controlling interest in the new Series 7 fund they couldn't unload due to the scandal. I didn't just get justice. I got leverage. The walk-in. 2 months after the ink dried, I walked into the same office where they once erased my name. The receptionist, new hire, didn't recognize me. The partners? Replaced. The glass conference room, where I was once accused, now mine. Devin's old office? Empty. Except for a new plaque I had mounted on the door. Reputation is built in silence, destroyed in whispers, and reclaimed in fire. Marcus Silva. Part 5, From Cell Block to Boardroom. How I helped my inmates build their futures. They stole nearly 4 years of my life. But in that time, I gained something they never saw coming, brothers not by blood but by fire. Now, we run businesses. We mentor young hustlers trying to stay legit. We built something they never expected. A second chance. With interest. The origin of Silva School. During my 45 months behind bars, I didn't waste time. And I wasn't alone. There was Rico, former auto tech from East LA who got pinched running a chop shop. Deshaun, a fashion designer whose label got used for money laundering, without his knowledge. And Luis, who could quote Shark Tank episodes better than any MBA grad, but got caught up in a wire fraud ring because no one taught him how to build legit credit. In that prison library, over old newspapers, torn up whiteboards, and government-funded internet kiosks, we did what the system never expected. We built futures, business plans, pitch decks, personal finance literacy, how to register an LLC, how to pitch to the right angel investor, how not fall for quick scams and learn real margins. They started calling it Silva School, not as a joke, as hope. Life after release. When I walked out of San Quentin, my lawsuit was still pending. But my mission was already clear. I wasn't just going to rebuild myself. I was going to take the men I met inside, the ones who wanted more, and build something new. With my eventual $185 million settlement and equity in Slate Bridge Series 7 fund, I started a new arm of the firm. Breakline Capital, a startup incubator for system-impacted founders. From prison blues to business suits. Rico now runs a mobile auto repair fleet called Grit Garage, operating across 2 counties. His vans? All electric. Funded by our first microloan round. Deshawn's fashion line? Still sharp. Launched on Shopify. Collaborated with a major Bay Area sneaker brand last year. His tagline? Tailored by time served. Luis? He runs Capable, a nonprofit accelerator teaching real-world financial literacy to at-risk teens in Oakland and East Palo Alto. He's been featured on Forbes Under 35. Twice. Full circle. Last year, I was invited to give TEDx talk. I didn't wear a suit. I wore the same gray button-down I walked out of prison in, because I wanted every person watching to know one thing. They try to bury me in concrete, but I was a seed. Now, we're helping others grow. Takeaway. This isn't just a revenge story. It's a redemption story. It's about how, even in the darkest places, light finds a way. And when it does, you don't just shine for yourself. You shine for everyone who didn't think they deserved a second shot, until you show them they did. Part 6, the reunion I never wanted, but damn, I'm glad I went. 20 years. That's how long it had been since I walked out of high school with a diploma in one hand and 1,000 unresolved feelings in the other. No prom. No close friends. Just a gearhead nobody believed in. And now, I pulled up to my 20-year high school reunion, driving a black-on-black electric roadster I co-designed, wearing a tailored suit stitched by one of my former cellmates. And I wasn't just showing up. I was closing the book. The invitation. It came in the mail. A simple envelope with gold lettering. Prospect High School Class of '09, 20-year reunion. I almost threw it out. Why revisit the place where I was invisible? Where people borrowed money and never paid it back? Where I got told, "You're sweet, but let's just be friends." Where a girl once laughed when I said I wanted to be a mechanic. But something told me, go. Not for them. For me. Arrival. The venue? A wine country ranch turn event hall, halfway between nostalgic and tacky. I pulled up in a limited production EV, part of startup I'd helped fund post-settlement. The valet looked at me, wide-eyed. "This yours?" "Every nut and bolt," I said. Inside, the name tags were pre-printed. Mine? They had a scribble on with a sharp last minute. Because I wasn't on the expected guest list. Perfect. The faces from the past. Some people hadn't changed. Still cliqued up. Still whispering when I walked past. One guy, a former friend turned ghost, said, "Whoa, Marcus? You got out early, huh?" I smiled. Turns out I shouldn't have been in at all. He blinked. "Wait, so you're not, actually a felon?" Only in the minds of people who never read past the headline. Then there was Casey, the blonde who once asked why I wanted to be a mechanic. She gave me a look like she kind of remembered me. But not really. "You look different. What do you do now?" "Venture capital, legal reform, startup incubators. Depends on the day." She blinked again. Oh, that was all she had. The real surprise. But here's where it gets crazy. While refilling my glass at the outdoor bar, I struck up a conversation with someone not from my graduating class. Her name was Amira, CEO of a wellness tech company. Came as a guest of her older cousin, an alum. She didn't recognize me. Didn't care about my past. Just asked why I looked both calm and dangerous. I told her the short version. She didn't flinch. "That's the most badass TED Talk I've ever heard over Pinot Noir," she said. We talked the whole night. Laughed. Exchanged contacts. 12 months later, I proposed. The lesson. Reunions are funny. They're not about who you used to be. They're about who you chose to become when nobody believed you could. I didn't go to prove anything. But turns out, I didn't have to. They saw it in the car. They saw it in the way I walked. They saw it in the smile of the woman who would one day become my wife. Your past isn't your prison. Your enemies aren't your legacy. And revenge? That's cool. But the real flex? Peace, power, and partnership. Thanks for listening to Echoed Stories. Before you go, drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from and what time of day you're listening. Are you winding down at night, commuting in the morning, or somewhere in between? Your feedback helps shape future stories, so don't be a stranger. Until next time, keep your ears open and your secrets safe.